Republicans are on the same page. They're both mad at Joe Biden for pardoning his son. I'm going to go through this and many other big stories. To help me do that, I have Alex Marlow from Breitbar News. Alex, thank you for joining me.
Stephen, it's so good to be here. And now we are colleagues in this YouTube space. So it is all the more exciting.
Yes. Well, I'll make sure to put a direct link down below so that people can follow you here on YouTube as well. I want to jump right into this. Just for some background, Alex Marlow is the chief editor over at Breitbart News. I find them to be an incredibly useful resource for me and my show. Let's jump right into this President Biden pardoning his son Hunter. Is this Joe Lyin Biden at his best? Is this a father falling on his sword to save his only living son? Or is this a man clothed in authority that changed his mind now that political enemy Donald Trump won? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the first couple scenarios. And first, let me state that I have launched a show, the Alex Marlow Show, on YouTube. And a lot of it's because of Stephen, because I was so impressed what Stephen did, that he went from having a different career and built up a couple million subscribers on YouTube. And he's informing people and doing super interesting interviews, some of my favorite interviews that I do. So I want to get in on the fun. So people can subscribe to the Alex Marlow Show, and you're going to get a daily news breakdown. Some of them are interviews, but for the most part, I'm just giving you sort of an overview of what I think are the biggest news stories and why they're important. So I really do hope people join me, and thanks, Stephen, for allowing me the plug. To the point about Joe and Hunter, I think that Joe was always going to pardon Hunter. This is something I've been predicting for a long time. We've talked about my book, Breaking Biden, a number of times. And during that research, it became crystal clear to me that Joe knew Hunter was a criminal, and it was just a matter of time before he was going to let him off the hook. And it was probably going to be between the election and the inauguration. This is all stuff I've said over a year ago. And so you can go back. We've got some, I did shamelessly bring some of them up to the front page of Breitbart earlier in the week. If people want to go over there, they can find it. But that's what I predicted. Win, lose, or draw. He was always going to pardon Hunter because Hunter is a criminal. Joe pawns it off as has substance abuse problems, which Joe's always been sensitive about because others in Joe's family have had abuse problems, like Joe's dad and others. But it really is not that. He's also been running a criminal enterprise where he's gone overseas and cut deals that are probably illegal in Ukraine, probably illegal in China, and all around the world. Look for Jim Biden to be the next person who gets pardoned, another Biden family member who has all sorts of deals where he's essentially getting U.S. government money funneled to him via third world countries. And it is a big racket. These are bad people. And we all knew the pardoning was coming. And anyone who's surprised was not paying attention.
Do you think that Biden eventually pardons himself, or is he just shutting down all the tunnels that lead directly to him and Jill?
It's a great question. I think that there's a good chance he could pardon himself because of what we know from the laptop from hell, which is where a lot of this comes from. Remember, Stephen, laptop from hell, that was all Russian disinformation, right? All those 51 deep staters telling us this was all just Russian propaganda. Now, well, it turned out to be real. There are real crimes in it. And the 10% for the big guy, I mean, that's not legal stuff. Joe, what he did with the Burisma, where he's on tape saying that he essentially threatened a quid pro quo to the Ukrainian government that you don't get $1 billion unless the prosecutor investigating Hunter gets fired. I mean, that's all criminal. So I don't know if the statute of limitation has expired on some of that. I think much of it probably has. But Joe might be better off if he pardons himself because, of course, he's getting kickbacks. And if he's already pardoned, it will discourage lazy Republicans from looking into what happened. So I do think, though, it's a legacy tarnishing event if Joe just states flat out, I'm pardoned, because that is an admission of guilt, essentially. It's an admission of if you look hard enough, you will find illegal stuff that I did. So I don't know if he's comfortable with that. I'll go gun to my head. He doesn't pardon himself, but it's not impossible at this point.
Do you think he tries to negotiate with Trump? Hey, let's unify the country. Let's move past this. It would look really benevolent on your part to pardon me, just like Ford pardoned Richard Nixon. Or do you think he doesn't even broach the subject with Trump?
Great question, because I think that there's an interesting dynamic here. And that I think the Trump of 2016, who was, I think, an inferior version of Trump now, I think Trump's better now. But I think the Trump of 2016 would have been a good person to negotiate in that regard. I think that if in 2016, Trump would have certainly taken any deal that would have made him look magnanimous and like a unifier. And I think that now Trump's more of a wild card. I mean, they tried to kill him. They've tried to jail his family. They lie about him and constantly put him through legal turmoil nonstop. And Joe Biden's a part of it. Joe Biden could have shut down any of those investigations into Trump. Joe Biden was the originator of lawfare. I mean, he is the guy who patented it decades ago, and we could discuss that at great length, maybe a different show, Stephen. But Joe Biden's to blame for a lot of the lawfare that we've seen directly. So I don't know if Trump is predictable in that regard. So I don't know if Trump could do a good faith negotiation with Biden in this case, considering how responsible Biden is for so many of the problems Trump's had to endure the last 4 years.
Yeah, up until pardoning Hunter, I think he might have been able to, and also his behavior towards Ukraine. Trump and Biden, they have this almost 3-hour sit down at the White House. And the number one thing that Trump tells Biden is, we've got to end this war. We've got to end the killing. I'm going to shut down aid. And they say, okay, that's great. You're the incoming president. You see it different. You handle it different. And then within days, he's instructing Ukraine to launch missiles into Russia. Jake Sullivan and Antony Blinken are basically rounding up every last U.S. taxpayer dollar they can to ship over. Now they're saying they want another $24 billion. This flies in the face of everything Trump wants to do. Did that maybe burn bridges between Trump and Biden?
Yeah, I think there's a chance it did, because Trump is smart and he's a step ahead of me now, sometimes I would say, on some of this. And my instant reaction to that was Biden is trying to make a more chaotic environment for Trump. He's trying to make it so that Trump doesn't have a really easy W. Trump's going to get some easy wins once he gets in there. He's going to start working on the border. He's going to tap parts of the energy sector. These are going to be really quick, easy wins for him that are going to get him off to a good start. He'll probably broker a peace in the Middle East. Biden's incapable of that. I mean, no one in Biden's coalition is happy with the way he's handled the Middle East. I think Trump's got a chance to do better with all sides. I think Trump's got a chance to come in there and come up with a negotiation where both the Israeli side and Israel's opponents are actually feel like they've got a better deal than they have right now. So all of that is already on the table. And so Biden sees a chance to sow chaos between Ukraine and Russia, and he takes it. He takes it in a big way. And so I feel like Trump had to have seen that maybe Biden is setting it up so that Trump can't run up the score too much in the first 100 days. That was my first instinct. And so I'd be shocked if Trump doesn't feel that way, if not more strongly than I do.
Okay. All right. Not to beat a dead horse, but over on Breitbart,
yes,
Biden White House conspired for months to mislead the public about Hunter Biden. I watched Piers Morgan last night. He had on Democrat super lawyer and mega donor John Morgan, who says, listen, Biden lost a daughter and a wife. He then has another daughter. He remarries. He's got these 2 sons. One of them is the good son. The other is the struggling addict. And the good son dies of cancer after serving his country. Now he's left with 1 son. He simply changed his mind. He changed his mind. So it's your belief, though, that this was not a changed mind. This was a mind made up, and the deception came through the mainstream media. Alex, let me take just a quick commercial break to tell my audience how to save some money. The Federal Reserve Bank has dropped interest rates, so you need to call my friends at American Financing today. Now is the perfect time to consolidate debt and reduce your monthly expenses. A lot of us have been forced to use credit cards because of the ridiculous prices at the grocery store, utility bills, and even childcare. That debt is really expensive, with credit card rates being insanely high. But with mortgage rates dropping, now is the time to wipe out that debt. American Financing, is helping homeowners just like you save on average $800 a month. They are even closing some as fast as 10 days. And if you start today, you might be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. There's no upfront fee, and you can find out how much you can save. Call American Financing right now at 888-686-8030. That's 888-686-8030. Get rid of that credit card debt and refinance your mortgage. All right. Now, what were you saying?
No, and thank you for framing this up, because this is an area of my personal expertise, having researched the Biden family for a year and a half. And Joe Biden is consistent. He's the same guy. He's not changed. He's never changed. He's always the same guy. And he is loyal to family above all things. And the first 2/3 of your preamble there are exactly on the money. He is deeply scarred by the fact that he lost his wife, who he loved undyingly, and daughter, and not to mention Hunter and Bo, his brother, were injured in that car accident. And then he lost his son, Bo, who almost certainly would have been president at some point. He was that talented. He was that well liked, and he died of brain cancer. And this was devastating to Joe. And he values his family above all else. He'll never throw his family under the bus. And this is why, if you know Joe Biden, you would have known for sure that he's going to do everything he can. He will never turn his back on his family. And he loves Hunter. He really believes it when he says Hunter is the smartest guy he knows. Of course, this was always going to happen. He didn't change his mind about anything. This was always the plan. And I would bet my entire house on that. Okay.
But isn't there a little bit of a slap in the face to Democrats? Republicans don't really care. They probably saw this coming a mile away. But, there are Democrats that voted for him and believed that he was telling the truth. But if they go look in his closet, there are tens of thousands of Americans that are in prison right now because of bills and legislation that Joe Biden brought up, voted on, and passed. And those people didn't have a dad in the White House that could pardon them for stealing $1.4 million from the IRS, having a gun as a felon, on and on and on, all of these different crimes. So, what would you say to those people? Just, hey, sorry, daddy's boy got a golden ticket?
Yeah, look, this is America now. And the part of being successful is you got to inherit well. And your genetic traits and where you come from make a big difference. I hate to break it to everyone, but I'm just trying to confirm the truth. And that is true, is that Joe Biden's legacy is about jailing nonviolent criminals, particularly blacks. Kamala Harris jailed thousands of nonviolent people when she was the district attorney in San Francisco, when she was the attorney general of California. This is their legacy. They love to jail the nonviolent. And then you get Hunter Biden, and he gets off because he's the president's son. And they're shameless about it. Joe Biden's a shameless guy, and family is always above all else. And he just thinks about family in that regard. And he doesn't care if he's a hypocrite. They don't care if they're hypocrites. They never have. But yes, I do hope that message gets out to anyone who has a family member who's been incarcerated or is incarcerated, that if you're looking for sympathy for them, you're not going to get it from Joe Biden in the White House. And it's important to get that clarity, that people in America just know that he's not an ally of yours. He's not an advocate of yours. And he never has been. He's a guy who wields law and order as a political tool. And when it serves his purposes, he will lock you up. And when it doesn't serve his purposes, he'll let you out of jail. They're that cynical. That's how the Democrats behave in this moment in time. And it's really been that way for a few decades.
All right. Want to switch gears here on you. So I don't know if you know this story or not, but I guess Hunter Biden was $380,000 behind in rent to hedge fund manager Shaun Macguire. And he kept asking him, you've got to pay me, you've got to pay me. And so Hunter Biden paints this painting and says, because of my name and my superior painting artistic ability, you can sell this and you can get caught up on the rent that I owe you. Well, the guy receives the painting and he's like, this painting is terrible. And then he has it analyzed, and the painting was painted with Hunter's own poop, his own fecal matter. Have you heard this story at all?
No, yeah, I just heard it online on the X platform, like everyone else.
I saw it on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah, Shaun Macguire, I guess he's a tech billionaire who's now come out and is very pro MAGA all of a sudden. And I know that Hunter, the details kind of add up. Macguire is not a crazy person, so I wouldn't be shocked if this stuff is true. Hunter's art was always a grift. It was always a troll. He was never really an artist, and he was a brilliant troll. And one of my favorite parts of Breaking Biden, and sorry to keep doing plugs, but this is stuff that I'm not making any more money off of Breaking Biden. I can promise you that. It's just good. It's a favorite part I have in it, where I go through the art grift that Hunter had, where he was literally painting with a crack pipe. He had a crack pipe. That's how he paints. He blows into a cocaine straw or something, and it resembles him doing drugs. The paint he uses specifically is alcohol-based paint. I mean, it's all trolling. It's all jokes because he's kind of a smart guy and he's addicted to stuff. So him to act like he's got some sort of genius art where he's actually smearing his own a dookie on a canvas, that is the most Hunter Biden thing imaginable. So it's totally plausible that this is what Hunter would do because he never took art seriously. And the New York Times wrote about him in a way that made it seem like he was a legit artist. And it took people to go and actually talk to real art critics after the fact for them to all point out that this stuff is mediocre at best and some of it's absolute trash. And it was selling to unknown people. Joe Biden changed the laws right before Hunter became a professional artist so that you wouldn't have to disclose if these purchases were coming from foreign entities, et cetera, so that no one really knew who was funneling the money to Hunter. And I say funneling the money, they weren't really buying art, they're funneling money. The biggest donor, or not donor, I guess the biggest purchaser for a while was Hunter's own lawyer. So, I mean, it's just all of this is set up so that he could bag cash. So I'm not stunned by this. Again, I have no confirmation of it, but I would bet serious money that this is true and not some made up Twitter troll.
Yeah. I mean, Shaun Macguire is a very reputable guy. I don't think he would make this story up. He legitimately let Hunter live in his house in California. He was $380,000 behind in rent. And then, like, what a slap in the face. Like, here's a painting you can sell, and then analyzes it, and it's Hunter's own poop. I mean, this is like,
and you know, it's interesting that it wasn't so overt. That's classic Hunter, where you got to think about it a second. It's not a direct troll that he couldn't tell at first. That's how I feel like the story's true. Is it you can tell it first, but then when you analyze it, like, what is this material he's painting with? Yeah. Oh, it's Duke. Like that's what? That seems exactly like what Hunter was doing with the original art grift, where he made it seem like these are legit paintings, and I'm really trying now, and I'm getting straight. And then it's alcohol, it's cocaine straw. It's like, it's all drug jokes. He's making drug paraphernalia jokes, and that's what this is all about for him. Yeah.
I just wonder, like, if it got brought in, if an art appraiser would say, this is just such a crappy painting. Sorry, I got 3 kids. I had to throw a dad joke in there.
No, the dad jokes are real.
Something else that Democrats seem to be on the same page with is the idea of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy cleaning up the government programs, government budgets. For example, Cenk Uygur over at Young Turks, a far lefty, says, hey, I didn't like that Trump won, but let Doge do its job. You now have Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont saying, let these guys go in and clean up the budget. We have needed to do this for decades. What are your thoughts on Doge? What are your thoughts on them actually cleaning up the government and government budgets?
Yeah, and I want to share this, as I think now it's very trendy to just be 100% pro Musk, act like he's some sort of a demigod, because that gets you extra shares on the X platform. So I just want to share that that's not me, and I think that he does some stuff that I don't love, even though he does some stuff I do. But I only add that because hopefully this point will be more powerful. I think Doge has the power to change humanity for the better in a completely meaningful way, in a historic way. This is a historic opportunity, and I think Musk is the perfect guy to lead it because of look at what he did with X, where he cut 80% of the staff and the platform got more powerful. And it's one of these things where if he could go through, he's infinite credibility. He seems to have an incredible track record of doing stuff like this. And if he can go case by case through the government and through the bureaucracies and say, this stuff needs to be cut, this stuff needs to be audited, this stuff needs to go to a zero budgeting where they got to justify all their expenditures. And it feels like there's got to be mountains of fat that can be cut because he's fearless. He doesn't need to worry about his next job. And the problem is the people who run our bureaucracies are people who are not going to cut things that are going to potentially take food out of their mouths, are going to prevent them from gaining generational wealth. The example I always cite, the clearest one, is Lloyd Austin, who runs our DOD, our Department of Defense. He came from the board of Raytheon. Where do you think he's going to go next? He's going to go back to some defense contractor, make money. So obviously guys like that are not going to be cutting the defense budgets. They're not going to be looking for fat to cut because the cutting would come out of the pockets of his friends, family, etc. So Musk doesn't care about that stuff. So if he comes in and starts going through, he's going to see unending amounts of fat. And what that's going to do, that's going to empower the American citizen. The American citizen are going to get more powerful. So to say that I have high hopes for this, I honestly have not had higher hopes for a new government initiative in my lifetime. So it could be that good. That's how excited I am.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited as well. I just remembered something. I saw a documentary one time about. Are you familiar with the term fatbergs?
I'm not.
Okay. So in New York City and also over in London, down in their sewer systems, they get these giant blobs of congealed fat, and it starts to harden, and then it clogs the sewer system, and like teams of people have to go down with like high powered water and get rid of everything. I mean, can you imagine?
No, that sounds great.
That's what I think that Vivek and Elon Musk are going to have to do. Is we have these giant fatbergs that are clogging up DC. Some of them are people, some of them are programs, some of them are bloated budgets. But I think if they get in there and you get that water flowing again, I think you make America great again.
And the other thing where your analogy works so well, and I agree with it, but where your analogy works so well is that if you go down there, you're going to find some. It's not going to be, the issue is going down there. And none of us, I don't want to go down there, but if Musk and Vivek want to go down there, they're going to find the fatbergs, and all they got to do is take them out, and then things are going to flow again. And so that's where I think that works. It's a perfect analogy, and we're going to find them. So the question is, do we maintain the willpower to do something about it? And as of now, I kind of feel like I'm feeling good about that willpower.
Yeah. Here's one more picture of Vivek and Elon with one of the fatbergs.
Yeah, there they are.
Out of the London sewer system. All right.
So what is it? Is it like the bacon fat where you put the bacon fat in?
Imagine like butter, bacon fat, grease, restaurants dumping down the pipes, and the blob finds itself, and then it starts to stack, and that's what Washington D.C. is. It is a swamp full of fatbergs that have congealed, but like you said, no one in Washington D.C. wants to look in the sewer. No, the water's still flowing, we're good, but it's a trickle. America could be so much great. Like look over at like Dubai and other places. Like there's no crime. They're richer than they know what to do with. They have plenty of food. I think America could be that again. But we've got to get rid of it. We got to cut the fat, as you said earlier.
Yeah. It's just so funny because I can't help but think of that comedian who made that island of trash joke about Puerto Rico and how people thought that was going to ruin the election. There's just such an opportunity for that right here with these fatbergs, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to get your show kicked off of YouTube, Stephen.
Yeah, you don't want to offend people that eat beef tallow. The seed oils.
Yummy.
Yeah. Speaking of beef tallow and seed oils, what are your thoughts on RFK Jr. and Tom Homan? I'm reading that behind the scenes, cleaning up the border, the illegal immigration, and making America healthier are the two things that Trump seems most excited about. What are your thoughts on those two people?
Yeah, it's another one where these are really low-hanging fruit. I'm kind of jealous because any Republican with balls could come in here and I think score some easy points on these stuff. And I think Trump is got the eye of the tiger for it. Let's take the border because that's the most obvious one. Tom Homan's the perfect guy because all he wants to do is secure the border. And he loves deportations and he wants to intimidate. Have you noticed even how no one is doing interviews now in who's up for a major confirmation other than Homan? He's the only one out there. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
The reason is because he's messaging right now. Do not come. It is over. Don't go take the extra 2 months to try to get up here. He's the only one who's got the green light to do that because, it's Scott Besson, Pete Hegseth, all these guys who I'm sure would love to be getting some press right now and talking about some of their stuff. They're not doing it. They're laying low until they get through. Not Homan. Homan's out there and he's saying, stop coming. We will deport you. And he's taking on everyone. And I just love that so much. And it just shows you that Trump really picked the right guy. I mean, they couldn't be a better pick. And the RFK pick is so great too, because the bottom line is he says some stuff I don't love or I don't agree with, but we have an obesity epidemic in this country and it is hurting all elements of society. It's hurting our mental health. It is very expensive as the government now pays for 70 or 80% of healthcare expenditures. It is unsightly. And it's one of these things where it lowers our quality of life. And the US government deserves a lot of blame for this. The extent of their blame, we're going to uncover with RFK, I think, over the next several years. But just start with the concept of the food pyramid, which has been an obsession of mine for forever, which was fed to us, figuratively speaking, and literally by the US government, where they recommended we get 9 to 11 servings of grains every day. So they basically recommended obesity. Like they recommend that you just be obese. If anyone ate that many servings of grains a day, they would be obese. And the government told us we must do that. Why? Because it supports the agriculture industry. And it supports various special interests who are big voting blocs. So we did this to ourselves and the government sanctioned it. And they got it completely upside down with all the meats at the top. Like, why is that? The meats are good for you. You need to have some healthy fats. It's kind of what fats you're having versus having fats. Fats are good in a lot of cases. And we're all eating way too much. We have this consumer culture that we've fostered with every element of society. And the bottom line is that if we just eat less and exercise more, we're going to do better. That's it. It's that simple. Eat less, exercise more. Be in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. And then RFK, and he knows this stuff so well, he'll go beyond that and find a bunch of stuff. So this is one of these things where America could get markedly healthier. And when we get physically healthier, which will not be that hard, I don't think, then we can also focus on some of these more minute details where he's much more fluent than I am. And then who knows how good things could get. It's our mental health is going to improve. We're going to be happier. Like, it's going to be great. So I couldn't be more excited. These are just fantastic, fantastic picks.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the standard American diet, SAD, it is sad. And I do believe that we have been misled. And I'm excited for him to get in and see what can be done. I mean, I'm reading that there's over 10,000 chemicals used in American food that's banned in Europe. Yeah. Okay, so like right away, let's switch that out. And anyway, I'm really excited.
Stephen, hold on though, because we've been on almost a half an hour, so I'm behind in a serving of grains. So I'm gonna go get some fettuccine Alfredo really quick. Can someone bring me my fettuccine, please? Like it's like what is this is ridiculous.
Well, now I'm having fettuccine for lunch later today. So okay,
yeah, but just keep it to 6 servings. That's all.
Yes,
that's
keep
all.
it to
Just
6 servings. There. Yeah, that's all. Like I'll get the Olive Garden, right, where you buy one and then for $6 you can take home as many.
Take home another one. Yeah,
those as you want. Yep. So I'll get 6 more. All right. Final question. Like this is just such a funny gangster Trump story.
Yeah.
That you absolutely know that it's true, but. Here's what came out of Mar-a-Lago according to Peter Doocy. We're getting new details about the Trump-Justin Trudeau dinner from 2 people who were at the table. We are told that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told President-elect Trump that the new tariffs would kill the Canadian economy. Trump joked to him that if Canada can't survive without ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion a year, then maybe Canada should become the 51st state and Trudeau should become a governor. What do you think about that story?
I kind of love it. I've been playing with this idea on my show lately with what we should do about Canada, because part of the America First mindset for me is nationalism, and nationalism means strong nations make good neighbors. And Canada's a weak nation, and they're directly bordering us, and their problems spill into our country, and they're lost in a lot of ways, not the people, but the government themselves. And I feel like that we need to explore the idea of making sure that they have conservative governance going forward. And I'm not a big war guy, Stephen. You and I agree on that stuff. So I'm not saying we put boots on the ground there, but if we are able to persuade the Canadian people to vote for a different way, then I wouldn't take stuff off the table at this point. I mean, I would prefer keep it simple. If they've got this great guy, Pierre Poilievre, over there, who's leading the conservative movement, if he becomes prime minister, I mean, let's just start with that. But they need a free speech amendment. They don't have free speech. You probably saw that Ezra Levant, the great reporter up there, getting arrested just for filming pro-Hamas marches in Montreal. Like, that stuff's crazy to me, and it's going to stop. And so but without a First Amendment, it doesn't have to stop. So they need free speech. But I would not take it off the table that it might benefit both sides if we did annex all of Canada. I mean, there's a huge oil-rich country, a lot of good people up there, a lot of informed people, nice people. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I'm just beginning to think about it, so I don't have a fully fleshed out idea. But what I do know is that what's going on up there should not be acceptable. And short of a hot war, I think we should consider everything.
Yeah. I just love that Trump is like, listen, if your country can't survive without ripping us off by $100 billion, then maybe you just become like a mole on our butt,
Exactly.
Like he's not messing around. And I think, at first people mocked him about the tariffs, but look at the panic in Mexico. Holy crap. We'll have hundreds of thousands of people lose their jobs. Factories go under. We have to clean up the illegal immigration for America. Same thing up in Canada. Hey, we're going to put this tariff on you. Whoa, okay, we'll clean up the immigration. We'll get our oil situation. We'll quit focusing on Green Deal crap and become a better neighbor. I think Trump is onto something with using these. If you want to attach yourself to the strongest economy in the world, then you've got to be willing to play ball.
I like it, and I like the pressure that puts on. It's because if they don't want that, then they got to shape up. And that's one thing where Trump understands this. And I think it's interesting that he's a dad. He's got 5 kids. The kids do very well. They're very impressive. He's got a lot of grandchildren. He's run all these companies. Sometimes that you just got to incentivize people the right way. And if they feel like that if we don't get serious here, Donald Trump might crack down. I mean, it just seems like smart sort of diplomacy in a way.
Yeah. Have you seen that video of little Baron Trump that's circulating on the internet? He's a little kid and he's at Donald Trump's office. And he's
how little was he? Was he only 6'4" at that time?
Yeah, no, he's a little kid and he's visiting daddy before he heads off to school with a briefcase. I'm guessing you haven't seen the video.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but
okay, I'll send it to you after. But I'm not good at editing, but I want someone to re-edit that with Justin Trudeau's face on there, because it's like this really sweet visit, and then all of a sudden Trump turns to Barron and is like, "Never drink, never smoke, and I never want to see tattoos on you." Like he just comes down on him with a lot of fatherly love. I think that's exactly what he's doing to Justin Trudeau. Like, hey, shape up or ship out.
Amazing. And he's got this, he's learned so many things. The guy just lives so thoroughly. I've got to know him pretty well over the years. And the way he lives life is so enthusiastic. And he's a very good listener, and he's trying to get strategy from people. And then once he comes up with his strategy, he goes for it. And he's got a formula that's working for him. And he's doing something that I think lately, Stephen, is really impressive to me, is that he's improving. It seems like he's learning things. For example, his choices at the beginning of 2016 after he won was to try to co-opt the establishment, try to get some of the Washington permanent political class to like him. He's not doing that now. He's trying to tick all those people off, and he's probably about ready to dole out a bunch of pink slips to all of them. That's such good stuff. And I feel like it does come a lot from his parenting. And I feel like a lot of it, he's probably to work out what works for all the kids, how to get through to everyone. And people need different things. I know you've got a bunch of kids. I do too. You get through to them in different ways. Some of them respond to being ignored. Some respond to negativity. Some respond to positive incentives. You've got to find that. What is Justin Trudeau going to respond to? Trump is treating him like a child, and that's exactly what he deserves. He treats NATO like children. That's what they deserve. And that's what he's going to do all around the world. And I got to feel it's going to work.
Yeah, I agree. Alex, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on. I want to put a direct link to your new YouTube show down below so that people can find you very easily. But if they want to follow you online outside of YouTube, where else can I point them towards?
Yeah, here's the best thing to do if you want to support me. I know there's a YouTube-centric audience, so subscribing to the Alex Marlow Show on YouTube would be big. AlexMarlow.com for all of my stuff. Over at Breitbar, we've got a new premium membership called the Fight Club, where we have a lot of premium content, ad-free if you're a Breitbart reader, so you don't have to see all those annoying ads, which I know are just so annoying. So you can get that at the Breitbart app. And I'm doing a daily interview show over there where it's really sort of like a cabinet brief with my smartest people, where they fill me in on everything they're learning and reading. It's very insider, and that's a lot of fun. But if you guys check out my show, that'd mean a lot. And as Stephen, I'm happy to return the favor whenever you want to hop on.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.